G'day, welcome to Todd's Kitchen. In the past, I've made a red velvet cake. I've also made a red velvet cheesecake. So this really brings it up a bit of a notch, and I know that you'll love it. So join me today as I make my version of a red velvet ice cream. Now we're going to start by making the red velvet part of our cake. So into a mixing bowl, I'm going to place in 1.5 cups of sugar, followed by 1/2 cup of softened butter. And with a hand or stand mixer, we're going to mix this up until it's well combined and nice and creamy. Okay, so once that's been beaten through, I'm going to add in 2 eggs, but we're going to do it one at a time. So add in 1 egg, and then once that's mixed through, we're going to add in the second egg. Okay, so once that's mixed through, I have 2¼ cups of plain flour. Now I'm not using self-raising flour for this recipe, simply because we don't want it to be as fluffy. We want it to be a more dense cake. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place in 1/4 of our flour, and I also have 1 cup of milk, so I'm going to add 1/4 of that as well. And we're just going to mix that through just until it's well combined. Then once it's well combined, I'm going to add another 1/4 of the flour, then another 1/4 of the milk, and so forth. Okay, now that that's all mixed through, I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder and just let that mix through. Okay, now that that's mixed through, I have some red food coloring, so I'm going to add about, say, 3 tablespoons worth. So just enough to color it to the desired red that you're after. Now lastly, I have a teaspoon of vinegar. Now don't worry, you're not going to taste or smell the vinegar in this recipe. But with that vinegar, I'm going to add a teaspoon of bi-carb or baking soda. Now see how it starts fizzing up? Just give it a good mix. And this is going to work as our sort of like a rising agent, but it's not going to make the cake rise too much. So give it a quick mix, then just pour it into our batter. And we're just going to let that mix through until it's just combined. Just don't overmix it. Okay, so I have 2 springform pans, so I'm just going to evenly distribute our cake mixture between both pans, just like that. Now if you choose, you can also make this a 3-layer cake. Just simply use a 3rd springform pan. Okay, so now I'm going to place this into a preheated oven at 180 degrees Celsius or 350 degrees Fahrenheit. For about 20 minutes, and you'll know they're ready when you touch them on top and they spring back. Now I've just taken our cakes out of the oven, and while they're cooling down, we're going to make a cream cheese ice cream. So into a mixing bowl, I'm going to place in 110 grams or about 4 ounces of softened cream cheese, followed by 1 can or 395 grams of sweetened condensed milk. And with a hand or stand mixer, I'm going to mix this up until it's well combined and nice and creamy. Okay, so it wouldn't be an ice cream without the cream. So now I'm going to add in 2 cups of cream. Now you can use thickened cream or any type of whipping cream will do. And now we're going to mix this up for about 2 to 3 minutes, just until it starts to thicken up. Okay, so as you can see, it is now starting to thicken up. So I'm just going to turn off the mixer. Now what I'm going to do is place this into the freezer for about 2 hours and give it a stir after the first hour. So after the 2 hours, it's going to be more like a soft serve consistency. And when it's at that sort of consistency, it's ready for the next step. Now our cake is completely cooled down, and that's very important, otherwise the ice cream is just going to melt straight away. So I'm going to keep the first layer in the springform pan, and on top of that I'm going to add on half of our ice cream mixture, and we're just going to spread it out until it's nice and even. Next we're going to place our second layer of cake just on top, and the rest of our ice cream just on top of that. And of course just even it out on top. Now it doesn't have to be perfect because we will be doing an outer layer of cream later on. Now just cover it with some plastic wrap, and we're going to place this into the freezer for a good 8 hours, preferably overnight, to give it a chance to harden up and completely set. So now it's the next day, the cake is completely frozen. Now just before we serve it, I'm going to add some topping. And being a cake, I'm going to use some fresh cream. So I'm just going to whip up 2 cups of cream until we get to the soft peak stage. Okay, so as you can see, there's now at the soft peak stage. I'm just going to add a couple of tablespoons of powdered sugar, just for the extra sweetness. But basically you want to do it to taste. But you should only need about, say, 3 to 4 tablespoons. And once that's mixed through, it's done. Okay, so all we have to do now is just place on a thin layer of cream, and we're just going to work it on the top and around the sides of our ice cream cake. Now once you've creamed your cake, you can decorate it with anything that you like. I just have these little hard candies I'm just going to sprinkle on top. Now there we have a fantastically delicious red velvet ice cream cake. And this cake really has everything going for it too. You have that lovely spongy cake layer, but not too spongy, mixed together with lovely layers of cream cheese ice cream. Then of course I've topped off with some more cream and some more candy. Now don't do something weird and eat the whole thing yourself. This is only meant to be had as one slice at a time. So share it around and you won't feel as guilty. Now before you serve this cake, I recommend that you leave it at room temperature for about 10 minutes just to soften up a little bit, and it'll be so much easier to cut up and serve to your friends. But no matter if you cut up one slice at a time for yourself or you dish it out to all your friends, this cake is going to taste simply delish. Now if you enjoyed this cake, check the link down below and you'll find a little playlist for all my other fantastically delicious cakes. Now thank you for watching this episode of Todd's Kitchen. As always, I'll leave a list of ingredients down below, as well as links to my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and Home Handy Hints channel. And please do me a massive favour by giving this video a thumbs up, leave a comment and subscribe, and I'll see you next time for another delicious recipe.